I don't get it. You know, you're going to have to school me on this one. I don't get it. You know, seriously, explain this to me. All right. The 7 people that are here watching, anybody explain this to me. How can someone who literally is sitting there going, I've got this great camera holder and it for only $19.99, you get, and there's like 300 fucking people watching it. Like, it really is 300 people. You're going to buy that, or you're just, I don't get it. Either that or I'm just that horrible of a host. I don't know. One of the two. So anyway, hello and welcome to Randsanity, episode 227. This is the 227 consecutive day of me doing this craziness. I talk about stuff, my crazy life of what I do. Like I was saying earlier, I drove a fucking ambulance. That's right. I drove an ambulance for a few years. You know, the whole like high speed, murder scenes, death scenes, you name it. I saw it. I had to go pick bodies up. It was fun. It was crazy. Someone has to do it though, right? I couldn't do it forever though. It was not the best day of people's lives. They were not like, oh my God, it's so good to see you. It was like, thank God you're here. Which the stress level definitely made me even more twisted. Everyone I worked with was basically twisted too because of that fact alone. So you couldn't be normal and drive the ambulance, no matter who it was. Everyone had like psychotic episodes of some sort. They were all a bunch of weirdos. So just if you ever get picked up by an ambulance person, just know that they've definitely got some issues. They just do. I don't care who it is, whether it's a fireman or just a medic. They've got issues. So every TV show that shows the ones with issues, that's the reality. They're not normal. You can't do this if you're normal. Anyway, I'm going to start off tonight. We're going to talk about some stuff. Talk about music, history, talk about concert tours, talk about births and deaths and some other stuff. I'm going to start with a story that I found that I thought was really interesting. And you may say, it's not that interesting, but you know what? That's okay. I thought it was interesting because it puts together both science, which I like science, and it puts together metal. All right. So this is about a heavy metal mosh pit. Okay. So these hosts from The Rest is Science, Hannah Fry and Michael Stevens have a podcast, and they offered some insight into a 2025 podcast about mosh pits and fluid dynamics, which sounds really kind of odd, okay? But anyway, and here's how that links crowd safety at larger concerts, all right? So fluid dynamics and crowd surfing, or mosh pitting. Fry is a mathematician, and he cited an academic paper titled Collective Motion of Humans in Mosh and Circle Pits at Heavy Metal Concerts. Now, this is a 2013 paper that was authored by Jesse Silverberg, Matthew Bierbaum, James Sethna, and Ita Cohen. These are 4 researchers from the Department of Physics and Laboratory of Atomic and Solid Physical Particles at Cornell. So these aren't like, just couple of random humans. They're like, smart, very smart humans from Cornell Physics, all right? So their paper compared mosh pit observations to particular behavior, okay? Like not a particular, but particles, okay? Particle behaviors, all right? So what they did was, Fry explained, they attended a number of heavy metal concerts, and they also watched videos of them on the internet, and is written as a paper, an actual proper academic paper would be on mosh pits. So for some context, the paper explains that they studied large crowds, mosh pits of 102 to 105 attendees in the mosh pit, not at the concert itself, okay? These people were under extreme conditions typically found at heavy metal concerts, often resulting in some injuries. The collective mood was influenced by the combination of loud music, 130 decibels. Okay, now that's like 130 decibel is rock concert decibels, like up front speakers, jet engine like loud, okay? Fast beats, the BPM, over 300 beats per minute. So you're talking like heavy, heavy, fast beat music, synchronized with bright flashing light, and frequently intoxicated. So this is the real deal mosh pits these guys studied. So the way that they distill the joy out of a good night with your friends, she later added that it's very much, she was not a mosh pitter. So here's the thing. As she continued, if you stop thinking of people as people and you start thinking of people as particles, actually what you see in mosh pits is the same behavior that is common in all sorts of systems of fluids, essentially. Each person effectively is like a particle. They're propelled, they're constantly colliding, and they're reacting on what's going on around them locally. Not the whole global system. They're not all following a series of rules. They're just reacting to what's going on around them at that exact moment. So these physicists, what they did is they made their mathematical model, this computer simulation, adorably good sense of humor here. They called it the Mobile Active Simulated Humanoids Model, otherwise known as MASHers. Mobile Active Simulated Humanoid Model. Okay, what they said was there are two different tendencies that people have when they're in these sort of crowd situations. Either we tend to copy what people are doing around us, flocking behavior, similar to what you get when you see like a flock of birds. It's a very basic thing. If you've ever read anything about what you watch this synchronized thing, it's actually just this very basic tenet that if something moves close to you, you move away from it. So if something moves to your right, you move left. If something moves above you, you move down. Fish are the exact same way. While it looks like this really complex behavior, that's how drones can do it. And that's how these sort of collective sets can do it. If something gets too close, you move over a certain distance. So it looks like this great swarming behavior, but it's really this basic thing. So anyway, we sort of can do that, okay? So we sort of copy the average speed in the direction of your neighbors. And as humans, we do the same thing. If the crowd's moving in a particular direction, we tend to copy what's going on immediately around us. But then you have sort of the other random, unpredictable movements when we're acting as an individual. You know, say somebody spots a friend or whatever it might be, and what they found is that actually these mosh pits, they do have this gas-like state. They essentially form the same patterns that you would see if you're looking at a box of atoms. This sort of distorted, disorganized gas, the Maxwell-Boltzmann distribution. Okay, that's the technical name for it. This is what it's known as. But people are sort of pinging around from each other in a disordered way. But then when you get people going in more organized in this vortex state, this sort of circular motion that you see precisely that you see in fluids, where people are sort of rotating with the audience. And this is like something, these circle pits that emerge from nowhere. It's this emergent property. Nobody ever says like, okay, off we go, start rotating in this direction. At this point, Stevens injected that these are people with their own personal wills, and they haven't organized any of these patterns. So they concluded it's just something that happens when you stop behaving like people and start behaving like particles. So I just think that's fascinating because after I read the article, I thought about mosh pits. It's like, right, they just sort of start. You got people bouncing around, and then they start to become this circle. And why do they do that? No one really organizes it. No one says, all right, gang, let's circle the wagons. But they start making this circle. So that's just so funny that it's fluid dynamics. And we always think that everyone's being so unique and, yay, we're being all, mosh pitty. But you're still following a pattern. Oh, man. Anyway, sorry. I just kind of got off on that because I thought that was really funny. The idea of science and a mosh pit. Scientists will study anything. But again, these weren't exactly just, chumps. They were Cornell physicists who came up with this whole hypothesis and thing. So I just thought that was a little fascinating personally, since I'm a kind of nerdy guy when it comes to science. I like the science stuff. Anyway, let's get into a little bit of history. Let's talk about what happened on this day. All right. On this day in history, 114. All right. The 14th of January throughout history. All right. We'll start with this one. In 1961, Elvis Presley, Elvis the King himself, started a 7-week run on the #1 UK chart with G.I. Blues. Also on this day, Elvis, when he was in the Army, who was actually promoted to acting sergeant in the U.S. Army. He was in the Tank Corps. He received a pay increase of $22.94 per month. Per month. All right. I got $22 extra a month. That means I can go have Chick-fil-A, because that's about what it costs for a Chick-fil-A lunch. Oh, genius. Elvis. What are you doing, Elvis? All right, let's see. Why is my computer not working here? Oh, man, did this thing freeze? It sucks. All right, let me try this manually. All right. In 1963, on the 14th of January, Charlie Watts made his live debut with the Rolling Stones at the Flamingo Jazz Club in Soho, London. Before joining the Stones, Watts played regularly with Blues Incorporated. I don't know who the hell Blues Incorporated is. Sorry, I just don't. In 1964, the Beatles, minus Ringo Starr, who was fog-bound in Liverpool. Now, does that mean he was stoned and he was in a fog? Or like he got stuck in like, jolly old London and it was all foggy? What exactly was that? Anyway, they departed from Liverpool for Paris, France on an 18-day run at the Olympia Theatre. Arriving in Paris, John, Paul, and George were met by 60 fans. Woo! 60 fans, yay! I mean, they have a lot more than that. Some of the stuff that, when people would mob them. So that was kind of crazy. Wait, look, I see the camera's going to turn off. So I actually found it this time. All right, look at that. I changed cameras and it didn't go dark. Yay. I didn't screw up this time, which I normally do at this point. So just so you know, a normal tendency for me is to totally screw up everything about right now. About, 20 minutes into it, I fail to notice that the camera turns off and then I'm just talking to a dark screen and it just looks foolish. Pilot error, I like to call it. Pilot error. Anyway, all right. 1966, David Jones formally changed his name to David Bowie to avoid confusion with Davy Jones from the Monkees. Just in time for the release of his single, Can't Help Thinking About Me, he would later say that he chose Bowie because he liked the big American bear-killing knife. I don't know if that's real. I think he probably just said that out of just being snarky. But that's amazing. Because, think about it. David Bowie, Bowie knife, because he liked the big American bear-killing knife. That's snark. I'm just saying, In 1967, over 25,000 people attended the Human Bee in a Gathering out of the tribes at San Francisco's Golden Gate Park. The event was a forerunner of major outdoor rock concerts and featured the Grateful Dead, the Jefferson Airplane, Quicksilver Messenger, and Big Brother and the Holding Company. Janis Joplin, basically. But I love that. The Human Bee in a Gathering. That's we should revive that. It's the Human Bee in a Gathering festival featuring live music. Why not, right? Diana Ross made her last appearance with the Supremes at the Frontier Hotel in Las Vegas this day, 1970. During the show, Diana introduced her replacement, Jean Terrell, who would lead the group to 7 more top 40 hits, including the top 10 entries Up the Ladder to the Roof and Stoned Love later in the year. Stoned Love? I didn't listen to Stoned Love. I'm going to have to check that one out. Sloan, what's up? What are you doing, man? I see you over there. How we doing? What are you doing? What's going on? Where are you at? What's happening? What's the word? What's the haps? All right. Boop, boop, boop. Also on this day, 1977, David Bowie released his 11th studio album, Low, the first of 3 collaborations with Brian Eno, termed the Berlin Trilogy. The track Sound and Vision was released as a single and used by the BBC in the UK on trailers at the time, providing much needed exposure as Bowie opted to do nothing to promote the single himself and helped the song reach number 3 on the UK charts. Chilling in Colorado! Chilling in Columbus, too. I missed you when you were here visiting. You know, I heard you were here, but, you know. Well, there you go. You can watch. I do the live stream every night at 11. Every night I'm here at 11 o'clock. So you can always come find me. So, yes, I didn't get to see you when you came home this year for the holidays. So when you get back for a break or this summer, we'll have to hang. Check out the Sloan scene. Oh, let's see what else. The punkest punk band in the world, the Sex Pistols, played their very last show at the Winterland Ballroom in San Francisco, where Johnny Rotten yelled at the crowd at the outset, "Ever get the feeling you've been cheated?" It was the last time the band played with bassist Sid Vicious. 1978. That's the end of the Sex Pistols. Wah, wah. Yes, you're always busy when you get home. I know. You seem to be. You're overbooked and overscheduled. That's what happens when you're a thriving college student. I understand. You do that stuff. You go and you make the world better. You take it on with a fervor and a challenge. But that's, what we all try and do. 1984, Paul McCartney was at the #1 spot on the UK singles chart with Pipes of Peace. With this release, Paul McCartney made chart history by becoming the first artist to have a #1 in a group, the Beatles, in a duo with Stevie Wonder, and in a trio with Wings, and also as a solo artist. So he got the 4-peat. He did it with everybody. Paul McCartney, doing it with everybody. See how that works. Let's see. Jerry Nolan of the New York Dolls died at the age of 45 in 1992. And we'll just leave it at that, because it seems like a way long description to read, and I really don't want to do it. In 1996, Oasis went to the #1 spot in the UK album chart with their second studio album, What's the Story? Morning Glory. Love that. The group's second UK #1 spent a total of 145 weeks on the chart. It was also the band's breakthrough in the United States, reaching #4 on the US Billboard 200. The album yielded 4 major hit singles. Some might say Don't Look Back in Anger, which also reached #1, Roll with It, and Wonderwall, which peaked at #2. The later has emerged the band's biggest selling UK single hit, spending 30 consecutive weeks on the chart. So, Sloan in Colorado. It feels like Colorado in Columbus today. It was like 48 degrees. It was beautiful. I was working outside a little bit yesterday. And today, just tonight, the wind picked up. The snow came down. I just about fell on my ass on the iciness. What are you going to do, right? In 2001, Jennifer Lopez scored her first UK #1 single with Love Don't Cost a Thing. The track was taken from her second studio album, J-Lo. It became her first single to top the Billboard Hot 100 airplay, and the music video was met with acclaim, garnering an MTV Music Video Award. Yay, MTV! No, we don't do MTV anymore. We're boycotting MTV since they stopped playing videos. So MTV can go take a flying fuck. Yeah, I said it. That's right. Linda Gale Lewis, the sister of Jerry Lee Lewis, dropped a claim about sexual discrimination against Van Morrison. Lewis had claimed that Morrison had publicly humiliated her on stage and tried to ruin her life by asking her for sex. She withdrew her claim after discussing with her lawyer. Morrison denied all the allegations. That's just a weird one. Like, really? All right. Yeah, you took to your lawyer. Your lawyer probably said, lady, you're nuts. It's not going to go anywhere. You're going to make it worse. Drop it. Move on with yourself. 2005. I got a badge from YouTube Music because I listened to YouTube Music. Hello. What's up there, D-Dem? MVP? Joining in 2005, a $100,000 statue honoring the Lake punk guitarist Johnny Ramone was unveiled by his widow, Linda, at the Hollywood Forever Cemetery. Johnny died from cancer in September of 2004 at the age of 55. Hundreds turned out for the ceremony, including Tommy Ramone, the only surviving band member. Dee Dee Ramone died of drug overdose in 2002, and Joey died in 2001 of cancer. One of my favorite band adventures of all time has to be having lunch with the Ramones. All four members. I got to sit down with them. They were doing a show in Columbus, Ohio, and Alex May was the record label guy. When I go to lunch, I'm like, yes. I was like, this 20-something wide-eyed kid, like, yes, I totally want to go to lunch with the Ramones. Knowing I was going to see these guys play that night. I'd seen him play on the campus of Rutgers University. I'd seen him play in New York City at CBGB's. So I was just like, it was definitely one of my more wide-eyed fanboy moments. I can't lie. So, all right, great. We're going to go to lunch. And, here we go. We pick up the Ramones and we go to lunch. Now, Joey Ramone wanted fresh fish. Now, at the time, there was not a lot of places in Columbus, Ohio that had fresh fish. So we had to go to the place called the Claremont. Now, the Claremont was this suit and tie business guy lunch that was just down the street from the federal courthouse and the regular courthouse. So it was all like suit and tie lawyers and judges and business meetings and this kind of really nice place. And the Ramones are in their leather jackets, Joey with his little glasses. And I'm just like this 20-something-year-old kid like, ee. So we sat down and we basically, we're like, so kind of talking, just sort of shooting this. I'm sitting literally next to Joey Ramone. Like, this is, again, kind of like a little idol worship, not going to lie. And I remember what he ordered because he wanted fresh fish. And that's why we went to the Claremont. He ordered red snapper. And I was like, okay, great. And when they said, the vegetable of the day is Brussels sprouts. And he was like, oh, great. Can I get more? And now, just so you know, I'm a Brussels sprout, hater. So if you want to get rid of me as a watcher or person right now because of that, fine, be that way. Okay. But Brussels sprouts, no, I can't do them. I can't do them baked or fried or cooked or grilled or sauteed or boiled or anything. When I was a kid growing up, my mom used to boil them and they looked like little brains, little cabbage brains. And I couldn't do it. My dad covered them in chocolate syrup once. Was like, you'll stay here and eat those, you'll stay at this table until you eat those. In the morning, I was still at the table. True story. My dad's like, you're one stubborn son of a bitch. I was like, I am your son. So yeah, not a Brussels sprout guy. Anyway, so Joey Ramone gets a second order of Brussels sprouts. And then he wanted to see a tea box. Okay, I was 20 years old and I was like, what the fuck's a tea box? I don't know what a tea box is. So they bring out a box, literally a box that had all the teas in it. And he had oolong tea. He was like, oh, oolong, I will have that. So sitting as a Joey Ramone, I'm expecting which I've been to lunches where it's like burgers and Jack Daniels, okay? And this was red snapper, Brussels sprouts, and oolong tea for the Ramones. They played a show that night at the Newport Music Hall where the ceiling was sweating because there was so many kids just bouncing off the walls to the concert. Anyway, that's my Ramones story. I'm sticking with it. I actually have an autographed flat from all four of them signed along with a concert ticket from that show framed. That didn't get stolen. So I will bring that home at some point because I do like that. 2007, Amy Winehouse started a 2-week run at the #1 spot on the UK album chart with Back to Black. The album sold more than 3.6 million copies in the UK alone, becoming the UK's second best-selling album of the 21st century. Worldwide, the album has sold over 20 million copies. Damn, Amy Winehouse. What do you have to go and be gone? In 2010, the BBC admitted coverage of the launch of U2's album No Line on the Horizon in 2009 went too far. How does coverage go too far? I was confused when I read this. Giving undue prominence to the band, Radio Center, the trade body for the commercial radio companies, had made a formal complaint over the coverage, saying the BBC had given U2 the sort of publicity money can't buy. Now, that's what we call earned media, ladies and gentlemen, okay? When it's publicity that you don't buy, it's called earned media. So I just think that No Line on the Horizon in 2009, promoted by the BBC, yeah, that's just earned media. We work really hard to do that, you know? You want to get people to cover you without paying for it. That's the whole point. I mean, anyone can spend money. You can spend money and promote on TikTok or YouTube. All these things. That's easy. It's the whole not spending the money and having someone promote it is what you want to do. So I think that just sounds like sour grapes from me to Radio Center. They just didn't get the coverage they wanted. Just saying. Also in 2010, guitarist Jimmy Page was honored with United Nations' first ever Pathways to Peace Award. The Pathways to Peace is an international peace-building, educational, and consulting organization which has consultative status with the United Nations. Jimmy Page, interesting. I couldn't find out why, but okay. This one's awesome, okay? This one, I don't love Justin Bieber, but this made me love Justin Bieber. Justin Bieber was questioned by police over the egging of his neighbor's house in Calabasas, California. Bieber spoke to police in relation to the incident, which saw him accused of throwing eggs at his neighbor's house while his neighbor and neighbor's daughter were on the balcony filming him doing it. Billboard reports that a dozen vehicles arrived on Bieber's property with a search warrant looking for evidence that Bieber was involved in the incident. Detective Dave Thomas, not of Wendy's, commented, "We collected evidence related to that crime. Mr. Bieber was present and cooperative. He was not arrested." All of that. I love that so much. Thank you, Justin Bieber, for egging your neighbor's house. 2016, Adele was at number 1 on the U.S. album chart with her third studio album, 25. The album was a massive commercial success, debuting at number 1 in more than 25 markets, breaking first week sales records in multiple countries, including the United Kingdom and the United States. 25 has gone on to sell 23 million copies worldwide, making it the fourth best-selling album of the 21st century. It won the 2016 Brit Award for British Album of the Year and the 2017 Grammy Award for Album of the Year. I've not listened to it. I've heard Adele when she did Saturday Night Live and a couple of things, but I do not have Adele as on my playlist. Maybe I'll have to pop that in tomorrow and listen to her on YouTube Music. Never know. That's it wouldn't be a horrible thing, right? All right, some other little tidbits I found along the way. 1973, since we were just talking about the Grateful Dead and the passing, Phil Lesh was arrested as they found drugs in his home in Marin County. Now, again, why are the police in your house? Okay? Rock stars, stop letting the police in your house. They're like vampires. They don't just walk in the door. You have to invite them in. Plain sight, okay? Read the rules, okay? The law clearly states plain sight, okay? If a cop walks in the house and he sees a bag of weed sitting on the table, especially if it's a giant bag of weed the size of, I don't know, a garbage bag, he might have a problem with that. If he walks in and he sees a brick of cocaine, he's going to have an issue with that, okay? It's plain sight, people. You need to stop that. Stop doing plain sight. 1956, Little Richard released Tutti Frutti. Tutti Frutti. Oh, you gotta love Little Richard. What else did I find? Oh, 1972, a show that could not be made today, Sanford and Son with Red Fox, was released on NBC TV. 1972. If you ever get a chance, go watch a couple of old Red Fox skits. They would not make it today. They just no one would have the balls to do that. 1976, The Bionic Woman, to compete with Lee Majors in The $6 Million Man with Lindsay Wagner, was released on ABC television. In 1977, Fantasy Island was released with Ricardo Montalban and Hervé Villechaize. Le plane. That's what South Park mocks when they do their J.D. Vance imitation. Okay, boss. Oddly enough, today is also the birthday of Ricardo Montalban. Ricardo Montalban was Khan in The Wrath of Khan. Khan! He was, of course, as we know, he was Fantasy Island. Let's see, what else did he do? Oh, he used to do this great commercial with rich Corinthian leather for the, what the fuck car was that? The Chrysler Cordoba. The Chrysler Cordoba with rich Corinthian leather. He also did, what else? So, no, today was the day he died. I'm sorry. Today is not his birthday. Today is his death day. My bad. Whoops. So he died on the same day, years later, that Fantasy Island premiered. Probably because couldn't deal with the fact that it happened. Tyne Daly got a DUI in Van Nuys, California in 1991 on this day. And let's see. Oh, and in 1993, David Letterman moves to CBS TV from NBC. I remember that was a big deal, and he really hated NBC, so he had a lot of fun moving to CBS and harshing them for decades. Oh, right. Let's see. Oh, so I found a tour. Pavement. Pavement announced a plan to perform a limited run of North American dates in 2026, starting with an appearance at the Oakland, Californians Mason Wood Meltdown Festival on July 17th. The band will make stops at Revolution Hall in Portland, Oregon, the Palace Theater in Minneapolis, Minnesota, Chicago's Salt Shed, and the National in Richmond, Virginia, before wrapping up at the Ryman in Nashville on the 27th of July. So very, very, very short run. Okay? But if you are a Pavement fan, they're at least playing close enough for a good drive to do it. So basically, they've sold about 100,000 tickets, about $4 million gross from 22 to 24. But they definitely are, they're set to do an extensive reunion tour with theater stops across North America and New Zealand. So hopefully we'll see them out nearer to Columbus. Ryman's not too far from here, but it's still far enough that I probably won't make a road trip. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. See what that does. If that so inclines me to do that, I might. You never know. But yes, Pavement tour. All right. Some births and deaths. Born today, Faye Dunaway, Bonnie and Clyde, and some other stuff. She's 85. Holland Traylor. So Holland Traylor is the mom of Charlie Sheen in 2.5 Men. She plays that snarky, mom character. You gotta love Holland Taylor. Carl Weathers. Carl Weathers' birthday today. He would have been 76. He died 2 years ago. Carl Weathers, Apollo Creed. Remember Apollo Creed? What else? He was Colonel Diller in Predator. What else? Chubbs Peterson and Happy Gilmore. Remember he got his hand bitten off by the alligator? Carl Weathers. died in 24. Let's see, Emily Watson, Corpse Bride, she's 59 today. LL Cool J, rapper extraordinaire, 58 years old. Justin Bateman from Arrested Development, the whole Horrible Bosses series, Black Rabbit. I watched that series just recently. It was good in that one. Very Justin Bateman in that one. Ozark. I like him. He's a good actor. I enjoy him. There's some actors I'm not fans of. I definitely like Justin Bateman. Definitely relate to his style. So 57 years old today for Justin Bateman. T-Bone Burnett is 78. Chaz Smash of Madness. I hadn't even thought about Madness, so I had to play their song earlier. And I was like, yes. I was like, they got to love that one song from those. He's 67. Patricia Morrison, Sisters of Mercy. Again, another band I hadn't thought about. So I was like, yes. Lucretia, My Reflection. Hells yes. 63. And from Warren, Ohio, hailing from the great state of Ohio, on this day, the man, the myth, the legend, happy birthday to Dave Grohl. Dave Grohl's a good cat. I've met Dave a few times. He's always very hospitable. Definitely a very genuine guy. Still a big rock star, but definitely a very genuine human. Definitely enjoyed spending time with Dave Grohl. I always like to tell the story that when them Crooked Vultures came and they came to the station, Dave Grohl and Josh Homme and John Paul Jones, everyone was like, the whole staff was like, clamoring because they're like, oh my God, Dave Grohl, Dave Grohl, Dave Grohl. And I'm just like, yes, what's up? I'm like, John Paul Jones. I'd like zoned right out. I was like, Whee! I spent my entire time talking with John Paul Jones. Even at the show afterwards, when we went backstage and talked to the band, I just hung out with John Paul Jones. I was like, I don't care about Dave Grohl right now. I was like, I will see Dave Grohl again. I will see Josh Homme many times again because of Queens of the Stone Age. John Paul Jones, don't know. So I definitely am going to hang out with this guy. Led Zeppelin legend. All right, who did we lose today? Humphrey Bogart. Come up and see me sometime. Play it again, Sam. He died of larynx cancer. Maybe because of that voice. I don't know. I'll probably stop talking like that. He was 57. Blossom Rock? I mean, that's someone's name? Like, really? I'm like, that's awesome. That was the grandma from the Addams Family. She died at the age of 81. Shelley Winters from the Poseidon Adventure died on this day. She was 85. Like I said, Ricardo Montalban. He died at the age of 88. He died in 09. The Wrath of Khan. Ricardo Montalban. And Alan Rickman died at the age of 69. Die Hard Alan Rickman. Hit it again. I always love that. That's one of those weird, like, movie lines that I always remember when it's just like when something's horrible's happening, I always just think of Alan Rickman saying, hit it again. But it's on fire. Hit it again. Of course, also Harry Potter. So, births and deaths. I found another brand new concert announcement. James Taylor, for anyone that's a James Taylor fan, James Taylor Songsmith has announced an extensive list of tour dates across America this year with his all-star band. It's a 30-date trek, and it kicks off in April in Highland and stretches through September, hitting cities like Santa Barbara, Las Vegas, Atlantic City, Columbia, Maryland, Charlotte, Atlanta, and Hollywood. Grammy-winning artist recently wrapped up another U.S. tour in 25, which was joined by special guest Tiny Habits. This will be Taylor supporting his 18th studio album, American Standard, released on February 28th of 2020 via Fantasy Records. The new album follows his 2015 Before This World, which reached number 1 on the Billboard 200 and featured a guest appearance by Sting. So yeah, I was looking and I didn't see one in Ohio though. California, Nevada, California, Vegas, Bethlehem, New Hampshire, Bridgeport, Connecticut, New York, Hershey, PA, Atlantic City, Saratoga, Virginia, 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 Boston, Boston, Delaware, Columbia, Charlotte, Wilmington, Atlanta, Charlotte, St. Augustine, Florida, Florida, and Hollywood, Florida. So no Ohio. Not in the Midwest. So no JT for us. So if I'll have to be on the East Coast somewhere or somewhere else. So no James Taylor for you. No James Taylor for you. That's the way that works. What are you going to do, right? All right. Let's see. I think that's all. That's all there is. I don't have a lot left. I found most of the stuff that I could on this fine February. February. I'm wishing February for reasons unknown. I mean, I know why, but yeah, I've got about 40 days I got to deal with of super stress. But it happens, you know. It'll just give me a gray hair. Not that I have any now. Just saying. Just saying. Anyway, I hope everyone has a great, fantastic Thursday. Right? Tomorrow's Thursday? Yes, it is. Because I saw the blue garbage cans are out. So it is Thursday. That's the way that works. So, Jello, what's up? I don't really have anything else too exciting. I'm probably going to go to G Love on Friday night. So there is a possibility I'll be late in attending at my 11 o'clock normal time. So if that's the case, I will be sure to let you know. Fugazi, yes. 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 All that, Obi. So yeah, that's what's happening. All right. So have a fantastic rest of your evening, Wednesday night. And I will look forward to seeing you tomorrow night. And we'll do this all again, but totally different. Completely different. Until then, I bid you a fond farewell and adieu. The camera's going to automatically turn off by itself tonight. That's just going to be hilarious. My timing is great. I can see it's going to happen in 20 seconds. So I'm not even going to fade to black. It's just going to cut to black. So we're just going to sit here and wait for it to do it. So as the camera gets ready to count down and turn off, it's like at 9 seconds. I will look forward to it. So I will say thank you, and we will cut to black. Boom! Called that one.